What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we're going to take a look at what I am very cautiously calling the best blue Digimon deck. You see, and I need to give a shout out to Andre Mahendra, sorry for the pronunciation, over on the Facebook group, for posting the list that Soihei Ogawa, sorry for the pronunciation, a Battle Spirit Pro player, that is another card game over in Japan, played at a recent video, really on the official Digimon channel. And essentially, he's a really good control player, and he's made a really good blue control deck, so we should probably go through and have a look at this deck. One thing I find super interesting, lots of vanilla cards, not many option cards, and yeah, it plays a secret rare Zudamon. So we might as well go in order, and we might as well start off with our Digitama here, which is going to be Uppermon. When you attack, if your opponent has any Digimon with no evolution sources, you draw one card. This is the only Digitama we use here, the only one of the blues that is played. It is played as a 4-of, and the theory here is extremely simple. If I'm drawing extra cards, I am getting an advantage over my opponent, so I want to be going for this. Now, in terms of level 3s, we do have a bunch of different options. And what I find really interesting is only one of them actually has an inheritable skill. The only one we see here with an inheritable skill is Gomamon. When you are destroyed, you gain a memory. And we've got a very similar thing going on here. You are trying to make sure you've got more resources, more options than your opponent. So you use this as an inheritable skill. When you get destroyed, you still get to come in and roll. Now, what I find very interesting is that we do also see one of the Gabumon from New Evolution. I say one of, these are generally played as 4-ofs here. We see 4 of the Gabumon from New Evolution. Now, that's interesting because, of course, it's not got an inheritable skill, it's got a play skill here, which means you're only actually getting the skill if you play it normally rather than evolving it. But you get to draw a card. And it goes straight back to what we were talking about a moment ago. You need to be able to draw cards so that you are giving yourself all the advantages you can in terms of having more options. So we really are trying to max out our draw cards here. Now, in terms of the other level 3s, it's kind of interesting that we see a bunch of vanilla. We see, well, this is the weirdest one for me, Armadillomon. It actually costs to evolve as a level 3. Remember, if you go first on turn 1, you've got 0 memory. So if you evolve into Armadillomon, it will literally end your turn. Yowza. But then again, it's got 4,000 power, which is very high for a level 3. We do also see the other Gomamon, the one from the starter deck, which is a 2 cost to play normally, 3,000 power. And the theory here essentially is, you know what? It's cheaper to play normally. And along those very same lines, we also see a full 4 copies of Elecmon, which is exactly the same as the starter deck Gomamon, which is a 2 cost to play normally, 3,000 power. So in terms of the level 3s, we've got the one that gives you extra memory when you're destroyed. We got the one that draws you a card when you play it. And then we've got the beefiest vanilla ones we can go with here. And I find that extremely interesting. We're not necessarily going for a whole bunch of skills. You're going for beef. Trying to build up those maybe slightly cheaper in terms of the 2 cost to play normally, but bulkier Digimon. Given that you've also got the 2 cost to play normally and the Gabumon that draws a card when you play it, we are clearly here also very much prepared to play these down without actually evolving them from a level 2. Now, moving into level 4s, we got 3 different options. One of the ones we see here is the Grizzlymon from the starter deck. And this is your blocker. Simple as that. Blockers are extremely powerful cards. You need to have some blockers so that you can stop your opponent attacking your stack or attacking yourself or attacking your other Digimon. So it does kind of make sense that we play a bunch of blockers here. And we do play the full lot of blockers here. We're going full blockers because you need options. Although I should say there are other blockers we could play, these are the only blockers we play. We play 4 of them. Now we do also see Leomon here. When Leomon is destroyed, you get +2 memory. Now this shouldn't necessarily surprise you, given that we are playing the level 3 that gives you memory when destroyed, and the theory here is the same as the theory there. If I'm gonna be having my Digimon destroyed, I might as well get extra memory. Bearing in mind, if you go from Gomamon up into Leomon, it's only a level 4, and then it gets destroyed, which could happen because you go into a security attack, for instance, you'll get +3 memory. +3 memory is kind of huge. So you've got your blocker, you've got your extra memory, and then we actually see the monkey with the cannon on its arm. Except it's an ape, it's Gorillamon. And what we see here is what we see from the other vanilla cards. Cheap, bulky. Now it's not cheap to play normally as a 6 cost, it's the most expensive of all your level 4s, but it is only a 1 cost to evolve and it's a 6,000 power. So the theory here is very simple. Evolve up more cheaply, have a more powerful Digimon. Bearing in mind, having Digimon with more powerful base DP is going to be better. When you hit those cards as security cards, you're more likely to take your opponent down. And then we get to the Veedramon. Now this is what's going to upset a bunch of people, because it's got a full playset of the secret rare Veedramon, and as we looked at in my most expensive cards video yesterday, that is not going to be an easy card to get hold of. The Veedramon is 6,000 power, which I suppose is tied with your Gorillamon and your Grizzlymon, although it is more expensive than those cards. When you attack once per turn, if you have a Tamer, you make it active. We play a bunch of Tamers, we'll get there in a moment. Now this does make me a little bit confused, just ever so slightly, purely because you make yourself active, but you're actually kind of weak. And we've seen the inheritable skills here. We're not really necessarily going for massively powerful Digimon here. We do have a couple of options, we'll get there in a moment. But what we see here is just, if you can survive, you make yourself active. And it's got an inheritable skill where if you've got a blue Tamer, the Digimon evolving from it gets an extra 1,000 DP. Though as we're going to see in a minute, we really aren't going to be evolving from this very often. And the theory essentially is that you get to attack a couple of times, and this is a swarming deck. You'll see here that we've got a bunch of cards that play extra memory, or that give you extra memory, and we're going for either cheaper cards or slightly more powerful vanilla cards, which often go together. And really, all of the skills we've seen so far are drawing and getting extra memory. Why? Because you are trying to flood the board with cheaper Digimon, but because they're vanilla, they're not necessarily much weaker, and having something like Veedramon that can attack twice can absolutely save you. Now, we are playing 0 level 6s, and we are playing 2 copies of 1 level 5, and that is it. We're playing Zudamon. We're playing 2 Zudamon, and that is the only level 5 in the entire deck. That's all we've got. It's when you play draws you 2. Now, it does have an inheritable skill. If your opponent has any Digimon with no evolution sources, you gain a memory, but we're not playing any level 6s, so it is completely pointless having that as an inheritable skill. If you play it normally, as a 7 cost, you draw 2 cards. And this just fits the deck. You are drawing cards with Zudamon, you are drawing cards with Uppermon, you are drawing cards with Gabumon, and then you are gaining memory with Gomamon and Leomon. And other than that, you are largely just trying to flood the board. And if you've got more cards and more memory, you're going to be able to. Just trying to flood the board with cheaper, hopefully slightly more powerful Digimon. Now, in terms of option cards, we've got 2 options. And one of them really is trying to make up for our weaker Digimon. We play a playset of Emerald Blaze. It is a 1-cost option card that gives one of your Digimon an extra 3,000 power, which, as we've seen, is sorely needed, especially for Veedramon, so you can get the extra 3,000 power, and then you're at 9,000, which makes itself active when you attack. You're still not going to stand up well to level 6s, but the goal of this deck is to flood the board with Digimon and take out all of your opponent's smaller Digimon before they ever get any of their level 6s out. Well, how that worked out. The only other option card we are playing here is actually one that came around in the starter deck. We are playing ourselves a full 4 copies of Cocytus Breath. A 7-cost Digimon that returns one of your opponent's Digimon to their hand, destroying all evolution sources of that Digimon. And as a security card, it just activates the effect. And the goal here essentially is, hitting it as a security card would be perfect, but it gives you an option. You're not playing giant level 6 Digimon that can smash, so if your opponent does get really big Digimon on the board and you cannot cope with them, here's your option. Literally and figuratively, this is what you do. Now, in terms of Tamers, we're playing a blue Tamer. We're actually playing both of them. 2 copies of the starter deck Matashida, 2 cost, and at the beginning of your turn, if your opponent has a Digimon with no evolution sources, you get +1 memory. It totally fits what we're doing here. It fits our theme of extra cards, extra memory, cheaper Digimon. I've got lots of cards and more memory than my opponent, and I just get to flood the board with Digimon so that I can control the board and I can overwhelm my opponents so they never get their bigger Digimon out because I'm taking them out a little bit too fast. Your opponent must have a Digimon with no evolution sources, and we're not playing that kind of blue deck here. We are not going after our opponent's evolution sources like we might in some other blue builds, but there's still going to be plenty of times where actually you're taking out so many of their little Digimon that they're not able to build up those evolution lines. So it's not that they've got a Digimon with no evolution sources because you've taken away all their evolution sources. It's because you've taken away all of their smaller Digimon, so they've not been able to get set up, so they've got Digimon with no evolution sources. Oh, look how that worked out. And then we see the other Matashida, the one that came around in New Evolution. Now, this is a 4-cost, although remember with the security skill, you can play it for nothing if it comes out as a security card. But if your opponent passes a turn to you with 2 memory or less, you get 3. Okay, that'll do. That works. But this is actually your one option for getting rid of evolution sources. If you play a blue Digimon by resting this card, you may discard an evolution source from the bottom of one of your opponent's Digimon. And we do need this a little bit. Now, for something like the other blue Tamer, it's not going to be great, because remember, that only activates at the start of your turn, so you can get rid of all their evolution sources during your turn, but if they can then fix that during their next turn, you get nothing, and that is a little bit sad. But remember, Uppamon comes in here, giving you an extra card if there are no evolution sources on any Digimon, as in if there is one Digimon with no evolution sources when you attack. So you can certainly play a blue Digimon, activate a couple of these, and then attack drawing an extra card with Uppamon. That is definitely going to be something you're looking into doing. I like this deck. It's a little bit different to some of the other decks we've seen, but pro TCG players tend to be really good at other TCGs when they pick them up. And this deck makes sense. No, you don't have many level 5s. No, you don't have any level 6s. But what you do have here is a lot of, let's say, cheaper Digimon that are weaker than level 6s, but actually, especially in the case of something like Gorillamon, beefier than their contemporaries. And you are flooding the board, and I've used that phrase a lot, and there's a very good reason for it, such that actually your opponent either is having all of their Digimon taken down by yours, or you're just taking out all their security cards because you've got more Digimon on the field, and okay, all of your Digimon might get destroyed every time they attack the security, unless they hit a Tamer or option card, but you've got so many Digimon on the board, it doesn't really matter. I love this deck, ladies and gentlemen. I absolutely love it. But I'd like to know what you think about it. So let me know in the comment section. Go nuts, me nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wossy, where we talk Digimon and a whole bunch of other games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus pods, all kinds of fun things. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wossy Plays.